20,000 years ago, a woman sits at the mouth of a cave, watching the world die. The rivers have turned to stone. The animals are gone. The sun gives light, but no heat. Her breath freezes in the air in front of her face. And she knows, everyone knows, that most of the people sleeping behind her will not see spring. This is the last glacial maximum, the coldest, harshest stretch our species has ever faced. Ice nearly 2 miles thick. Winters that didn't end. Food that vanished for months. By every law of survival, a fragile hairless ape should have gone extinct right here. But you exist, so they didn't. The official story says they survived because they were tough, because they hunted. And that's not wrong. It just feels incomplete, because they didn't just endure the end of their world. They built something to outsmart it. The question this case file investigates: what? We'll follow 3 pieces of evidence: a structure, a network, and a warning. And by the end, you'll understand why you still do the exact same thing every time your own world starts to feel like it's ending. In what is now Ukraine, on the freezing open steppe, archaeologists found something that shouldn't exist. No caves, no shelter for hundreds of miles. And yet, homes, built by hand, out of the only material the land offered in abundance. Mammoth bones. Not a few. Hundreds. One single dwelling used the bones of around 95 mammoths. Sit with that number. 95 of the largest, most dangerous animals of the Ice Age. Collected, hauled, assembled into a wall against the cold. Here's where the official story cracks. People assumed these were just shelters. But the effort doesn't match the explanation. You don't move tons of bone. Bone that weighs more than the people moving it, just for a place to sleep. It's the Ice Age equivalent of building a cathedral when you can barely feed yourself. So why? Because a structure like this isn't just shelter. It's a statement. We are staying. We are not running. This is ours. And we will hold it through the dark. And there's never just one hut. There are clusters. Which means this was never about a person. It was about a group. Hold on to that. When you dig through Ice Age sites, you find objects that don't belong there. Seashells hundreds of miles from any sea. Amber carried across entire mountain ranges. Stone tools made from rock that only exists a week's hard walk away. These things didn't migrate. They were moved by people, on purpose. Think about what that requires. To carry a shell from the coast to the mountains, you need more than legs. You need relationships. You need to know the group over the next ridge won't kill you on sight. You need a network. Our ancestors didn't out-muscle the Ice Age, they out-connected it. They built an invisible web of alliances, trade, and obligation across a frozen continent. When your valley's hunt failed, that web is what kept you alive. You could send your children to relatives 3 valleys over. You could borrow survival itself. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The humans who survived the end of the world were not the strongest, not the fastest, not even the smartest. They were the most connected. Isolation was the real killer. The lone genius froze to death. The well-connected fool lived to have children. Children whose descendants are watching this right now. You come from the ones who refuse to be alone. And if you're the kind of person who follows the evidence all the way back to why you are the way you are, that's the entire reason this channel exists. One case file, one buried instinct dragged into the light. Subscribe and stay on the case. Because this next piece of evidence is where it stops being history and starts being about you. All across this frozen world, our ancestors left something they did not need to survive. Marks, paintings deep in caves, handprints pressed into rock in places so dark you'd have to crawl for an hour to reach them. Why? You can't eat a painting. You can't burn a carving for heat. Here's what neuroscience tells us. Under prolonged grinding stress, the dread of a winter that lasts years, the human brain seeks meaning. It needs to believe the suffering points somewhere. A brain that sees no future stops fighting. A brain that believes we will get through this. And someone will remember, keeps the body alive long past the point it wants to quit. So the art wasn't decoration, it was medicine. A message fired forward through time. We were here. We endured. So can you. So here's the case, closed. They survived with three things: a structure to hold ground, a network to share survival, and a story to keep the will to live alive. But here's the part that should keep you up tonight. They didn't build any of it because they were hopeful. They built it because on some level they knew. They could feel collapse coming, and they frantically built against it. And that instinct never left you. It's why you stockpile when the news gets bad. It's why you cling tighter to your group when the world feels unstable. It's why, in an age of comfort, something in you is still quietly bracing for the long winter. You are not a calm animal living in safety. You are a survival machine, built by the apocalypse, waiting for the next one. The verdict: survival was never about strength. It was about who you refused to face the end with. The ones who outlived the Ice Age built something bigger than themselves, together. The ones who didn't, we don't have their bones. We have their silence. If this case file got under your skin, there's another one waiting in the evidence room. Subscribe. Stay on the case. The investigation continues.